much for such a warm introduction. So I want to shift the gear because we a few minutes before the break. So I would like to talk today about something very essential and fundamental. And all businesses are run or done by people. So what I'd like for the next 15 minutes to consider how the nature and psychology of being present and being a global player. Just a couple of words about context. So I've been pretty much on all the sides, all around experience, but more importantly, what's pretty much unique being in many different shoes, being a policymaker, being enforcer, being seller, being a customer, pretty much designing in ecosystems across US and internationally. And many things which we're gonna talk about are coming from very fundamental people's qualities and experiences. The concept number one, which I'd like to cover with you, is about tunnel vision. The tunnel vision is, regardless where you're coming from, with your experience, you will be in a tunnel. You will be in a narrow, what I typically talk about, narrow and dark tunnel. Whether you start a new business, whether you start startup, this is based on your environment, number one. Environment impacts you. If you haven't had any travel experiences, if you lived in some traditional places, it will impact you the way how you see the environment around you. The lack of context will be definitely the impact. And what it does, essentially, it doesn't enable you to build something big and global. So what do we need to do pretty much to break away from this tunnel vision? Think about this. Armenia and in the region, we have really expertise and also traditions of developing and building innovations. Think about this. It's coming from Soviet time, it's coming from what we call school of thinking, solving complex problems. What we haven't had for 100 plus years, we haven't had expertise and traditions of developing global companies around these innovations, right? So the processes which I've been helping to design and implement over the last years, pretty much the way to come out of this tunnel and what I consider, come out on the top of the mountain and see how wide and how big the horizon is. So exposure to this big horizon, how colorful, how it's interact, and pretty much see the rise of the sun. This is in Guatemala on the top of the mountain called Indian Nose, with many number of people from around the world. And this is what constantly changing your mind, constantly humbling you, constantly opening up new opportunities, new ideas. Concept number two, the leverage. So leverage is, on one side, how can you build big things? How can you impact masses? How can you, achieve something with less? One thing which, this is like a very illustrative way to show the world and the dots. So each individual dot will be like individual, with individual knowledge, individual opportunities, experiences, money. And as I constantly say, Armenians specifically don't have problem with resources. Armenians have problem with connecting those resources. And this is, a big staggering change or kind of view of the world which is connected, right? Because when you start connecting these dots, you develop community, you develop influence, you develop innovation, and more importantly, you drive impact. So before I go, I want to tell you a story, which from the same trip I took to Guatemala. So I interacted with a lot of individuals, young girls and men from Israel. So think about this. About 70,000+ individuals are leaving mandatory military duty every year. So the culture in Israel, the majority of these people will take a tour, will take a trip outside of Israel, wander in the world for close to 1 year, right? So think about what it does. They will go, for example, to South America, Latin America, and these are backpackers. They are constantly traveling, interacting with different people, with their own, and with new cultures. They establishing new connections. They establishing new opportunities. And think about the world which they're gonna create by returning to that country, right? So, first of all, they are very connected when it comes to the country, but they also connected with the entire world. So this is a way to think like how can you build yourself as individual and also your nation as very small, but at the same time global. So attitude. If you're building a global mindset, you need to have a global ambitions. If you're building global company, you need to have global ambitions. You need to be open to challenges, to changes, be open to learn. And that's something which I constantly remind our young and not so young individuals, people in Armenia and also abroad as well. Because they can create something, but at the same time, when I talk to them, seems like, okay, this is good enough. I can get to the point, it's comfortable, I get enough money to live, but that's not the way to essentially build or promote your company if you want to be a global player. So I introduced 3 concepts, and now I want to introduce also 3 platforms which can allow you, and what I've been involved with over the past, I would say, years and decades. The first one, you notice it's a UC Berkeley Skydeck. UC Berkeley Skydeck is currently the Forbes top university accelerator. And I'm honored and proud enough to not only be involved, but also impact to make it a global place. It's the only platform currently which allows not only Armenian, but in this region, startups to be a launch pad. So I took 25 companies from Armenia alone, and many more from other countries. And essentially, this is the bridge between Armenia and Silicon Valley, which allowed many companies, including well-known to you. Like on this picture, you have 5 companies out of 25. This is a picture from 2019, when it was not even when Armenia was put on the map, essentially in the Silicon Valley. So Crisp, Super Annotate, Grove, Netris, AppearMe, these are people who started this process, right? And we have also lady in the middle, Caroline Winnett, who is executive director, who was asking me, so Karen, what kind of place is Armenia? Like 2 million people, and the startups like predominantly Armenian. We cannot take all the Armenian companies you bring. So I'd like to know. So we arranged trip for her to see what it is. And when she returned, she said, the energy, the mindset, and the drive, I haven't seen that in other places. So that's one place, one platform, which allows a big transformation. The second platform, which I'm also involved in, it's a new startup. It's called Metaport. Metaport is essentially a platform to preserve history and culture. And in other ways, the way I say, to democratize legacy living. So until now, the history was documented only between 2 to 3%. And majority of this history was written by rich, who been allowed to, who had enough money to document the way they wanted. But you have many stories. You have great stories which are a part of your family. And when we're moving to the age of Metaverse, to me and many others, are empty if you don't have any essentially foundation for the past, for the context, where we're coming from, why we're doing what we're doing, why we're humans, right? Because it's easy, it's going to be very blank and empty. So this is the place which allows you to lead your stories, to start interacting and learning about different cultures and places, physically, by the way, and also in Metaverse. So finally, the third platform, Ground Zero. Ground Zero is not a regular cafe, Ground Zero is the first venture cafe in Armenia and the region. I'm telling you as a fact. So what it does, it's essentially a platform for collaboration and building launchpad to many different projects, companies, and people. It's a place to start new connections, as a Ground Zero means it's a starting point, it's enabling point. And we allow people to start to move forward, to create new, to change the culture. So essentially the reason for building Ground Zero was to bring all these changes which people been experiencing through months and months at, for example, Silicon Valley for our startups, to create the place where these changes start in Armenia. And we have, essentially, it's a community which we're building. It's a community, as we say, you belong to. It's our slogan. And by the way, you can join us by scanning, and I'll ask also organizers kindly to resend this, because specifically for FemInno, we created special offers. So you in luck, we would like to contribute to you as well. So please connect to us and engage. Most important thing, engage. Thank you very much.